What does it mean to radically accept yourself? As if every single day you aren't at least accepting that you're alive and you're doing what you need to do. What do I mean by the radical piece? The radical part is accepting every single piece of yourself. The parts of the self that even you don't even like. The parts of the self that may make you feel insecure, unsure, not enough, unworthy, undeserving. Radical self-acceptance looks at every single one of the faces that you have, good or bad, or maybe even neutral, maybe not even on the spectrum, and chooses to accept it for exactly who it is or for how it shows up. All the various versions of the self are there for a reason. Radical self-acceptance sees that reason, and it gives it a reason to either transform, shed away, or do something completely different. You can think of radical self-acceptance as complete and unconditional awareness of the self, meaning that you're seeing all the parts of yourself that you've let the entire world see, or your smaller circle see, or just you see, and then you're allowing yourself to see even more, even the parts of the self that you don't even want to see, you don't even want to deal with, that you've just nudged off into the shadows of your psyche, the shadows of your existence. Those pieces of yourself, they'll come up, they'll peek their head, they'll show themselves in a different way, whether or not that be through experiences, how you react to things, emotions, feelings, thoughts that come and go, patterns that you can't seem to shake. That's them wanting to be known, wanting to come into the light and soak in the sunlight like everybody else does. And then the same breath of them wanting to engage with life, they may also just want to be able to move freely. And in that movement that is so freely, it means that they can even integrate or literally move away from you, from your psyche, no longer being a burden. Radical self-acceptance literally looks at the self with keen awareness through the observer mentality, being, I'm just watching things pass and go, and allows them to go. It allows those various parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, suppressing, maybe even ignoring, or just not giving enough attention to. It allows them to be heard and to be seen, to crawl out from those dark corners that they've been in for so long, and to finally receive that sunlight that they want to. And once they receive it, what happens next is usually they become less of a burden. They become less of an obstacle to face. They no longer have as much of a hold or a grip on your psyche. And that's the point of radical self-acceptance. Even if the entire world around you doesn't care to see all the various parts of you, tells you that those various parts of you aren't needed, aren't wanted, aren't desirable, you gotta conform and transform in order to be accepted, radical self-acceptance takes a look at the self and says, I don't need you to be anybody else. I don't need you to do anything else. I don't need you to try to become somebody else. I just see you for you. Imagine another you just projected out in front of you that's looking at you like a mirror and saying, I see you for you. It's okay to be you. That's what radical self-acceptance is. And that's what the experience is like. At first, it can seem uncomfortable. What do you mean I'm accepting the fact that I have anger issues? Or what do you mean I'm accepting the fact that I feel so insecure about myself, especially in relationships, especially in love, or especially at work? What do you mean that I'm so scared that I feel just paralyzed at being able to do certain things, that I have to accept that? Yeah, do that. It's like the radical thing that you're not used to doing, or maybe that you weren't taught how to do, but it's the very thing that you need. It's like flipping the script, changing the narrative, actually introducing yourself to something that perhaps you may have never thought to do before. It rattles the body, rattles the nervous system, rattles the psyche, rattles everything in the shadow, and brings everything to the light. Now, in the first couple of moments of practicing this radical self-acceptance of saying, I see you and I accept you, being that you to you, it may be uncomfortable. It may be uncomfortable for days at a time, but every single moment that you decide to accept what comes, to literally accept what comes up, what feeling, what thought, what emotion may come up that may make you feel some type of way, whether or not that's joy and elation, I accept you, shame and fear, I accept you. The complete and total acceptance of the self is like a celebration that you are alive and a feeling being. What a way to experience the self beyond perhaps what you may have encountered or even been taught or even know about yourself. But it is that radical acceptance that is the utmost form of unconditional love and awareness that you can give to yourself that perhaps nobody else can. But I can give that to myself. And it is with that radical self-acceptance that your life begins to transform in front of your very eyes. That radical self-acceptance that allows you to fully step into the person that you've always been meant to be. Your fullest potential is now at your grasp to actualize and create into your present reality. It's like life goes from being, it doesn't make sense to accept myself because if I do that, will I even be accepted into reality? To I totally and completely am a whole person. I am enough without necessarily being accepted by my external reality because I am fully and completely accepted within my internal space. That is the power of radical self-acceptance. That is the power of radical self-awareness. And that is the power of radical self-love. So how do you do it? What's the first question you gotta ask yourself or say to yourself? Well, first I'll say it's no question at all, but it is simply a statement. Every time you feel an emotion that makes you uncomfortable, even the ones that make you comfortable, but we'll start with the ones that make you uncomfortable, say to the emotion, I feel X, and I know that I feel this way, and because of that, I accept you for who you are. For every single emotion, every single feeling, accept them for who you are. All the parts of you that make you think certain things, accept them for who they are. Don't try to force them. Don't try to nudge them. Don't try to control them in any way. Just allow them to come up and accept them for who they are. You can ask yourself, just to get the process moving along a little bit quicker, you can ask yourself, what am I struggling to accept within myself? And the answer to how you can accept them is, I feel you, I see you, and I accept you for who you are. You no longer have to be bound to the shadows of my mind. You are free to go. Start there. Start with self-acceptance, radically, and see just how radically your life begins to transform.